Welcome to the Hustle or Bust podcast powered by Paver Arts. Our mission is simple: to dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, small business, and all the success, struggle, and challenges that need to be confronted in the pursuit of growth. We celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit, but perhaps most important, we want you to learn at least one idea that you can put into action immediately to make your investment in time worthwhile.
Welcome to episode 27, a wake-up call to parents. On this episode, we talk about the plummeting teenage labor participation rate moving quickly towards 25%. We talk about why this matters, but most important, we talk about the magnificent opportunity that forced summers in high school present towards your teenager. But we warn you, there's a parental advisory. More F-bombs were dropped on this episode than any of the 27 done to date, but we still hope you enjoy it. All right, we talked about earlier in the week our Brick by Brick apprenticeship program, right. Which is basically geared towards the 18-year-old kid contemplating college or going into the workforce in an apprenticeship program. And we came to the conclusion that wouldn't it be cool to move that up 4 years and talk to the 8th grade kid coming into high school with the one simple premise. We think the biggest problem out there, or one of the big problems, is the teenage labor participation rate, which is approaching rapidly. I think within 5 years it's going to get to 25%. I believe it's in the low 30s now. The question really becomes, and we talked about how the one kid that we had enter it at 18 had zero work experience, right? So he comes to us green as green gets, to the point where he's lighting the place on fire, literally, and lollygagging over to someone to put it out for him.
Right.
Just not a lot of street smarts, not a detriment to the kid, just no experience. The kid's got to start working earlier, 14, 15 years old, so that by the time they get to 18, they're ready to make an impact. They've got some battle scars. Ray's a good example of that. Dominic has spent 3 years with us. He's got some experience now, too.
Yeah, it's two good examples.
Two good examples working with us, that they started at 13, 14 years old, and they're going to work their way through high school. They're going to be a lot different than that kid at 18 just because they've got work experience, right?
Sure. And let's not forget, we can use ourselves.
Now, let's rap about that. If the goal now is to get that 9th grade kid, the freshman in high school, to take his summer and then to kind of carry them through their 4 years of college, what are the challenges associated with doing that? Because we've got this trend line that's moved from when you were 15, it might have been 55% of the teenagers were working, or 60.
No, it was 75.
It's 75,
75%.
Okay. And now it's approaching 25 rapidly. So 75% of the world thinks that this conversation is bullshit because they're going to go to the Jersey Shore, they're going to go to sleepaway camp, they're going to go whatever it is that they're doing. It's more important than what you and I have to say. We're not going to reverse that trend on itself. We just need a couple kids, young, that want to come in, apprenticeship, and we think there's benefit of that. We think they're going to be better set up for college should they choose that. They're going to be better set up for the workforce. They're going to have much more opportunity if they choose to use July and August and work, call it 20 hours a week, and figure out how to mix in some play. And no, mom and dad, you're not taking them to Italy for 10 days because I'm not going to hire you then. Or they got to go to some other job. So they got to be committed to having a work experience summer. That doesn't mean they can't play, but you got to work for those 8 weeks. So what are all the things? How do you, if you took that objective and we want to get that young kid, we want to replicate the Ray model, not do it by chance, but do it by formality, and then have them go into the Brick by Brick apprenticeship program or some other opportunity. What's all involved with that?
I think the biggest problem, and again, to use our term, we beat this up pretty good for the last year, okay? It's a topic of discussion many times during each month over the last year. The one thing, the one hurdle, the number one hurdle in my mind is parents. Now, it's not their fault. I don't blame them. This is learned behavior, okay? They realize that, the schools are where their schools are where the impetus comes from. Oh no, you want your child to go to college. I mean, he's but Jimmy over here or Billy over here, I don't think he's going to have what it takes for college. You might want to look into getting him into a trade. That's this much.
Well, the battle we're drawing the battle line is not there right now.
But it's the parents.
I think you're right. But forget about college for a minute. Now we're just saying you've got 8 weeks off in the summer, July and August. Here's what success looks like. You're not going to screw around for those 8 weeks. You're going to work. But you're right. The
if you're
parents are number
creating,
one.
well, but if you're creating, but that's
the goalpost now.
Yeah.
Work. We're trying to
if
get
you're
people
trying
to work.
to get somebody, if the goal is to get somebody when they're 18 years old who has some background in work ethic,
some dirt on their nails.
some background in what it's like to go to a job on time, okay, manage your time.
Get caught with your iPhone.
Yep, it's
Light the place on fire.
shove that iPhone in your pocket and leave it there, or give it to me, or leave
get
it
the
in
hell
your
out.
car,
Right.
or get out.
Right.
You know, have a boss come up to you and say, "What the fuck is your problem?
Right.
Get your ass back to work. What are
Right.
you doing over here?"
Right.
Well, it's my girlfriend. You're fired.
Right.
You're fired.
Right.
It's the scariest 2 words in the English language. When I was growing up, you're fired. Oh no,
Right.
you're not firing me. They need to learn that.
So the parents are. You said number one challenge is parents. Say more.
When
They want to take them to the Jersey Shore. What's the challenge?
First of all, trying to teach your kid or get your kid to go to work when they've never done it before, that's hard
Right.
as a parent. Now, the argument could be made, and I think my 2 kids, Laura and Kyle, might look at me and go, "Well, Dad, you pretty much didn't give us any choice." I'm not the subtle guy. I'm not going to say, Jimmy, you need to understand that in order for you to, blossom as a human being and become all that you can be, you need to learn a work ethic. You see, your mom and I, we go to work every day. We make all these sacrifices for you and your sibling. That's bullshit. Okay? That's my personal opinion. Basically, you're going to fucking work today.
Right.
Okay? If I got to find you a job, I will. But if I have to find you a job, it might be a job you don't like, but you're going to work.
Right.
Okay? This is a lesson that needs to be learned by every kid. I don't care who the hell you are.
Right.
And the whole idea of trying to coax them into doing that is bullshit.
Right.
That's
They
bullshit.
need a kick in the ass.
They need a kick in the ass. And look,
So are the parents' number one challenge?
well,
Is
how
it
many
because-
parents these days are willing to make that sacrifice?
To kick them in the ass?
To kick them in the ass. They don't want to.
25%.
They don't want to. They don't
let's-
want to have an estrangement there.
So is it
that's
fair
going to?
Let's assign blame here because it's fun. If the teenage labor participation rate is low 30s,
I love this shit.
approaching 25,
Right.
let's just blame parents for that. Right?
Yeah.
They're teenage. They're 14 years old.
Yeah.
Who else to blame? So parents get the blame. Now we got to convince the parents of Junior should be working.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think.
Do you
that's-
think the parents
I think
want Junior to go to the Jersey Shore for the 2 weeks and therefore they can't get a job?
Well, first of all,
They got a shore house.
First of all, you can go to shore. If the family's going to the shore for a
Right.
week,
But if I have a Jersey Shore house, we're going to the Jersey Shore for the summer.
that's probably not our core audience.
Not the core. Someone that can afford that, right?
But there's a ton of kids out there, and again, college does wrap up into this because a lot of these parents want their kids to be able to go to college and get into a good one.
Nothing wrong with that.
And they understand that the only way for that to happen, they may need a scholarship. They need, I want my kid to be able to get into a good school. So this summer they're going to go to, a week of math camp.
So they're preparing college prep stuff in the summer.
Math camp. Fuck me. the math camp. I'm going to French camp. I'm going to learn how to and then when I get at what stop it. That's what? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that
As you just destroyed it, there's nothing
as I
wrong
just
with
destroyed, I went to the extreme to make a point.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that, but you can also work. You got to work. I don't care if you're cutting lawns, if you're working for a landscaper. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. You got to work.
Let's try and give a logical. Okay,
How are you going to get from 18 to 22 to 30 to 40 to 50 with bad work skills, with bad work ethic,
We're going to build
with bad work etiquette?
So
how are you going to do that and be successful?
So the goal for this podcast is we're gonna have a sheet here of key bullet points on making the case for work for Junior, and let's define Junior as a teenager. Number one, you're talking about work ethic, right? How do you develop a work ethic at 14?
Everything goes. This is work ethic.
Right.
Everything goes back to work ethic, Mark.
So, do you develop a work ethic in high school freshman year?
That's when you should start. That's about when you should begin.
Let me further explain. In the classroom from September to June, does that develop the work ethic?
No.
It starts kind of, but it doesn't. Is it representative of the real world?
No.
That's the key.
No, it's not. Okay. First of all, your parents give you lunch money. Somebody makes your lunch for you,
right,
and gives you the money to buy it.
Gets you to school.
Okay. They drive you to school. Okay. Show me the work. Well, they've got homework to do. Okay. The ones that do it. There's a certain work ethic and time management issue there, but the parents are making them do it.
And it's the law.
Yeah. You think every kid just comes out of the womb and, man, I can't wait to get in there and do my homework.
Right.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Your parents make you do that.
Right.
Your parents need to make you get a job. You learn how to work. Okay.
And you're not going to simulate that in Algebra 1.
No.
You're going to learn work ethic.
Exactly right.
So let's just be brutally simple here. Your biology is not going to teach you work ethic. It's going to kind of scratch around the surface. So you're going to get work ethic by working.
Let's say
in exchange for blood, sweat, and tears for a paycheck. That's the reward. You get money in your pocket.
Correct.
For me doing something for you as my employer. And you're going to learn what that, you're going to get in exchange. Right now, you go to Algebra 1, you get a grade. It's a C-. It's an A+, whatever that grade is.
Right.
You work, you get an outcome. It's called an A or whatever it is. That's kind of the exchange, right? And you have to do it.
It's necessary. That's part of your development process is going to school. You're around other children, you're socializing, you're doing all that. That's extremely important. You have to learn. The purpose of going to school is to learn how to learn. Okay, and you might pick up some, some basic skills there. Math, reading, writing, all the things that you and I use every day here. However, the to build your whole life around that little enclave, that little isolated. That little dome that you're in is ridiculous.
Let's talk about
the first time I went to my freshman year in college. Yes, I went to college. My freshman year in college. Okay. I was. You're excited, but at the same time you're scared. You've heard at colleges that's 5 levels up from what you're used to in high school. I got to college. That's bullshit, okay? You want to know why? I worked my ass off in high school. I went to school and I had a job, okay? From 15 to 18, I worked.
How would you characterize?
And oh, by the way, when I showed up in my dorm on that floor in Sharp Hall at the University of Delaware, I had cash.
Right.
Okay. I had money.
Right.
All right.
But you
I had a hell of a bank account.
Right. But you came from. We're talking about the generation that 75% are not in that mode.
Well, that may very well be the case.
So we're trying to
but the
figure out
bottom
how to
line is,
re-engineer it.
my father looked at me right in the eye. He said,
"So he was the impetus.
You're getting a job."
Right.
Okay. I didn't know anybody I didn't know any of the 15-year-olds that I was friends with that were working. Most of these guys couldn't even push a lawnmower. They didn't know what the hell to do. They didn't know how to do that.
Right.
You're going to get a job. What's the difference now? What's the difference between now and then? The difference between now and then is if they're not going to make that sacrifice. Parents have to make the sacrifice. You're going to have to upset your kid. Oh my God, how are we going to get through the day? We've upset Billy.
The parents got to start to understand that this is important. Right.
That's it. Yeah, please.
So
this is where it all stems. You think you're going to get that from Mrs. Smith? Your home ec teacher. Excuse me, there is no such thing as home ec anymore.
They got rid of it.
Or Mr. Brown, your vocational skill. Oh, excuse me, there's no vocational skills.
Right.
But, are you going to get that from your algebra teacher? No.
Right. So
no.
It relies on a parent. There's your last line of defense, or the first line of defense.
I will speak no more on this subject.
So you're right. I agree 100%. A few episodes back, maybe back in the summer, I asked you to rate customer service in America on a scale of 0 to 10. I think you gave it a 4.
Yep, I gave it a 4.
And 6 was passing but below average. So you gave it a failing grade. Similar concept or similar question. What is the financial... 2 questions. The financial health globally of the consumer in this country and in financial literacy. How would you characterize both of them? And then how does it relate to teens?
We've made it too easy in this country for people to not be responsible economically. Okay, there's an out. There's an easy way out. You know, call taxreformers.com or ring up tax reformers at 800 blah 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 blah. Okay,
consolidate
and
your
we'll
credit
get
cards.
you. We'll get you out of this mess that you have with the credit. Why did you get in the fucking mess to begin with?
Right.
Okay, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
Where have you learned the value of a dollar? This sounds.
How old are
This
those
sounds stupid. It makes me sound like I'm this old fuddy-duddy. Yeah,
So when you hear that
guys have no idea what it was like when I went to school.
Barefoot.
You know, barefoot in the snow.
Walking into
Well-
but who's that ad targeted to? The debt consolidation ad, the quick fix to your financial problems. What age is that targeted to?
Oh, wow. My guess is that's probably going to be somewhere between 35 and 50.
Okay, I'd agree.
You know?
Do you think they got into that deal overnight? Debt where they all of a sudden their target they've probably been living
They've
with
been
years.
playing that game for years.
They've been slowly approaching financial Armageddon
Yeah.
to the point where they hear that ad, I got to consolidate my debt. Right?
Great. It's a great point.
So
Great
when
point.
do you develop habits that are going to last you in life?
No. When you're 35? No.
Too late.
No. No.
You would think the earlier the answer is the earlier the better. I don't know what the
answer
magical
is
age
the
is,
earlier the
but
better.
if it can happen at 10, that's better than happening at 20.
Exactly.
If it can happen at 14, that's better than 30.
We pegged freshmen in high school only because you also need an audience that kind of has that has the ability to understand what you're trying to say. But then again, their parents have to be
So
in the room.
let's just say financial literacy, which is the education and what do you know about money, it's less than what it needs to be.
Well, then is this so okay? All right. Following on the heels of what you just said, so is it the kid that we're talking to, or is it the parents? Are we looking at the parents and going, you got to get your act together, okay? That's a tough theme to sell.
Well,
that's a really tough theme to sell.
Here's the
and
question.
the reason for it is because mom and dad are working their ass off so that they can afford the 2 cars, they can afford the house, they can afford to pay their taxes, they can afford to do all those things.
Random question.
So they can get their 1 to 2 weeks down in Stone Harbor with the rental, for $10,000 for Christ's sake.
Random question. If you were to define for me what the American dream is, in your own words.
Family, own your own home, job that you're working at something that's you've worked towards creating. You build a life for yourself. You've expanded your current family. I think that's the American dream.
I'd agree with that. I think my simple definition is my kids are going to have a better life than I did. So the next generation behind you is going to be slightly better off than you were. Mm-hmm. If you do that, that's kind of the American dream. And by the way, we redefined the American dream. It used to be home ownership. It used to be small business owner. It changes every year, but it's pretty simple. You want the next generation, your kids, to have a better life than you, if at all possible.
I would say.
Is that a fair?
Yes, and I would think your parents would feel that they were successful.
That's right.
I would think my parents would feel that they were successful.
All right, so if we take a couple facts, that being one of them, that we want our kids to live a better life than we did, and how do we empower them? What is college, apprentice, whatever that is, and we think financial literacy is on the low end. How do you teach kids at the 14 years old, 13 years old, earlier is better, what financial literacy is, how to manage money, what money is? The core of that is they've got to know how to handle a buck. So how, when you're 14 years old, do you start to learn about money?
Here's a novel idea. Why can't schools be the actual feeder program for local businesses? Why can't the guy that owns the 5 McDonald's in in southern New Jersey or Newcastle County, Delaware, why can't he be the recipient of every year from 3 until 3 to 6 every day, or 4 to 8 every day, a feeder program of kids that are coming to his McDonald's and flipping burgers and learning how to take orders and how to provide positive customer service. Why is that a bad idea?
Oh, so for schools to be the feeder program? It's a great idea.
Well, yeah, but
why aren't they doing it?
Look, this is the United States. It's we're wide open here. Just about everything that we're going to be talking about here has been at least tested once.
Well, here,
okay, and I've never heard of this. Why wouldn't it be the feeder program?
Well, you're right. It should be. But if we're talking to parents and 75%,
we're trying to get them to be a feeder program for paver art.
Unsuccessfully.
You can't get the fucking principal
we
on
can't
the
get
phone.
We can't get a return phone call.
You can't get a return phone call.
Right.
And when you get somebody one person actually came in here to talk about this, this is a great idea. I need to talk to my
they go radio
I can't
silent.
get them on the phone.
Right. They go radio silent.
They go underground.
So we're selfishly hoping for that this podcast goes to the parents and Sally and Johnny, parents, they start talking to each other and asking them that, well, we know the facts. 75% of the teenagers are going through freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, no job. We know there's these and oh, by the way, they're all getting shuttled into college. Nothing wrong with that. So they've got no job freshman through senior. Therefore, they got no money in the bank. Mom and dad send them off to college. What's the first thing they're going to see when they walk onto the quad at campus? The credit card companies with a table. Do you want a credit card? No fee, no nothing. You'll only have a $500 limit, but here's a credit card.
Right.
They're going to jump at it. That's what happens at
colleges all across the country. You need to establish your credit rating.
Right. Now, do they know how to manage money at that point if they've never had a job?
The answer is no.
All right. So, if financial literacy and debt you're not going to learn how to manage money until you have fucking money. You got to learn what it is to earn $1 and then not how to piss it away. You don't learn that in a textbook in a Finance 101. The good news is, Dominic
built this country, for Christ's sake.
Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, shout out to them. They require a personal finance class. You can do it as a freshman, but you got to take 1 quarter or 1 semester of personal finance. That's great. That's better than we didn't have that when I was growing up. It ain't gonna do much for you if you got no money.
That's exactly right.
If you're gonna learn about
it's not gonna do much for you if it's only 1 quarter of your year.
I consider myself fairly intelligent in the world of money through bad mistakes and learning and education and some wins, some failures.
Me too.
I didn't really get compound interest until I was north of 40 years old. Mm-hmm. Now maybe I'm slow. I don't know.
No, you're not slow.
But let's just say I'm average.
You're not slow.
Let's just say I'm the average dude that's done okay, not great, but okay. And I didn't get it until 40. Now, what made me get it? I started to see the value of what compound interest was.
Sure.
That at some point you start making more off your money than you do off your sweat. So, but it takes years for that to happen, and you really don't feel it until it starts to happen and you see it. Now, I learned the value of $1 at the age of 12 years old when I'm out with my own business cutting lawns and my first job and all the other stuff. If you're 14 to 18, you're a freshman, if you're in high school and you don't have a job, I'm sorry. Your parents, we're talking to parents.
Right.
You have done your kid a disservice. I am sorry. I can't think of any way that sitting around for the summer. Okay, you want to do a math camp for a week? Fine, do a math camp for a week. What about those other 7-8 weeks? If you're screwing around, going on vacation, and you're not working, you have taken a massive 8-week opportunity and you've pissed it away. Let's just say your goal is to get to the Ivy League. You're going to be better positioned in those 8 weeks times 4 years, working and getting references and earning money and screwing up and possibly getting fired. That is more life experience than you're going to get in those 8 weeks. You're going to learn equal to, if not more, than those 9 months in school. I'm sorry, you will.
And by the way.
And have someone, by the way, and I love parents to challenge this one. And we invite any parent that has a passionate opposing view. We'll get you on the podcast. We'll do a rap session with you. I find it hard to believe, and my sisters and I all worked, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that anybody that's worked hardcore as a teenager will talk about it as their greatest learning experience, equal to what high school was.
We've talked about that ad nauseum. You know as much about what I did as I did what you. I know more about. I probably know more about what you.
Fresh ice. How can I replicate fresh ice?
No, you can't. You can't. And you had what I thought was the greatest job ever. You worked in a liquor store. I mean, come on. That is just. I just can't think of anything better than working in a liquor store.
I can remember 3 lessons in high school, maybe, in various classes. 3. I can rattle off 75 stories in my liquor store experience. I'm sure you could too. That doesn't mean that high school wasn't important, but The use of 8 weeks, that is a critical decision. We're talking to parents.
Right.
If you don't have that kid, and I'm thinking 4 years is the way to do it, at least junior and senior, get them a job. Advocate for them to get a job. Now, let's go to the extreme. Let's say you got a kid, you're a parent, and you got an 8th grader, and they're going into college. What if an employer local to you were to say, we want to take your kid, and we'll take them for 4 years if they're good and they earned it, right? And we'll give them education. We'll give them a job opportunity. They're going to sweat. They're going to work hard. They're going to learn different things. They're going to learn the computer. They're going to learn manufacturing. They're going to learn all this stuff.
Right.
And we think by the time that they're... And oh, by the way, we want them to work 10 hours a week during the school year, too, if they enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, they don't have to. This is a free country. They can stop at any point. Or they can keep going and grinding and growing, right? And at the end of 4 years, guess what we think they should have in the bank? $20,000, investments in the market, and they're going to be on a path to $1 million in those 4 years. And they're going to have 3 references if it's successful. Now, if they're not good and they can't put their phone away, they're going to end real quick.
Right.
And they're going to get that life lesson, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Now, or you could do it your way.
Perfect. I think that's a great idea.
You could be part of the parents that are 75%. You're going to be in good company, a lot of company, that chooses not to do that, and they do their own thing. Jersey Shore, whatever it is, math camp. And they're not going to have that. So if your way's better, do it that way. Parents are the problem.
Yeah, I think the parents are the majority of the problem, and I think again, this is all learned behavior. All right.
Look, this is hard to hear if you're a parent and your kid is a senior and they haven't had a job.
And you're killing yourself every day on your job.
This is awfully critical. And I've got friends that their kids are seniors in high school, and the kid hasn't worked at all. So this is critical of them, right? Now, not personally, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
We're basically saying you're not going to learn how to manage money unless you got money. Unless you know what the value of $1 is, you know how to work, you know how to do something that's rewarded with money. I don't know how you get through the parents. We got 75% that are not doing it, so maybe hearing this conversation, they at least stop and
there's
say,
an easy way to get through to parents. I'm sorry. It's not an easy way. But, anecdotally, we can tell many stories about people who have come to work for us. You can tell many stories of the people that you've experienced at L&M Foods. I can speak ad nauseum about Chiarino. I can speak ad nauseum about J.E. Rose & Sons and the people that I worked with, okay? We can speak ad nauseum about the lost decade, the examples that we've seen here at Paver Art. There's all sorts of stories that we can talk about where we can make reference to people who never got the work ethic thing, okay? If you're 25 and you haven't had a full-time job, okay, that you stuck at for more than 4 months,
you're in a bad place.
Or 6 months, you're in a bad place.
You're in a bad place.
And you're going to continue to be in a bad place, okay? Not everybody treats their employees like Mark and Mike do, okay? Not everybody, tries to help, not every employer's like that. There's hard lessons to be learned out there, okay? I had hard lessons, okay? This isn't the first job I ever had, all right? I had hard lessons, all right? You had hard lessons, sleepless nights. That's what, you can't baby your kids forever. Take some initiative and push them out. Start pushing them out of the nest when they're 14, 15 years old, even if it's just for a few hours a day. Or if not during the week, because you're concerned that they're not going to get their homework time in, on the weekends. Weekends aren't time for the Xbox, okay? It's, of the 7 million people that have decided not to go back to work, where they're spending, the bulk of those people are spending their times, and how many hours they're spending there per year?
On the phone.
2,000 hours in front of a screen every year. 2,000 hours. It's
mind-boggling.
The average person works 2,000 hours in a year, okay? It's getting through to the parents, getting back to your point, getting through to the parents is very, very difficult to do, but you've got to speak anecdotally. You have to speak from a position of authority. You have to speak from a position of having gone through this with people that you've experienced working for you, and from what backgrounds they came from.
Well, there's also raw facts, right? That there's financial problems in America. Everyone says you got to start saving early to have a retirement, right? And the earlier the better. And the more you contribute each week.
Look at
better.
08.
The habits.
Jesus. Wait. We went into almost tragic economic areas where we've never been in before, worse than the Great Depression, because people were way overextended.
Let's use that as an
Where
example.
was the financial responsibility there?
Let's say you're the parent group that we actually get through when you're 18 years old, and that kid has been working since he was 14, investing in the market, his $5,000 a year, whatever it is, up until 8. Market crashes, and he's still investing $6,000, $7,000.
Right.
That kid, how's that kid right now? Fast forward to 2021, and he continues that. He is now buying at the market crashing, and then that thing's going to take off over the next decade plus.
Yeah.
If you're not working at 14 to 18, that thing just came and gone, and you don't even know about it.
You can't even take
You got
advantage
no
of
assets.
it. You can't take advantage of it.
You got to start this. You've got to start it freaking early and stay at it. Now, the problem
That's
with
a
financial
really good
planning,
point. That's a really
wealth
good
creation, you don't wake up until this, and people don't start getting serious. It's just the facts of life. Late 30s, they wake up way too late in the world of financial management. And that's what we're talking about now, investing and wealth creation. It starts with not pissing away everything that you got. It starts before that, earning $1. If you don't earn that until you're 19 years old or 22, 23, and this kid over here at 14, this kid at 14 is going to lap you. I'm sorry.
4 years. 4 years of income is 4 years of income.
Recount the Gladwell Beatles story, the 10,000 hour?
Well,
What that was about?
Well, they invested so many hours in being a band and traveling and working together and being secluded, and
They were honing their craft.
they were honing their craft. Again, now, by the way, people, I'm starting to read because of my my cousin's son, my namesake, James Michael Mast. I'm learning that there are people out there that are challenging Gladwell. Okay, and I actually listened to a podcast the other day where they challenged him in a very, very big way, and Outliers in the 10,000 an hour rule was challenged.
That you don't need 10,000?
I don't know that you have to listen to the podcast. I mean, it really got into some surreal areas. But to make a long story short, as far as I'm concerned, the 10,000 hour rule is more than legitimate. It's been more than proven to be effective and real. Whether it's 8,000, 10,000, or 12,000, doesn't matter. 10,000 is just a number. But the 10,000 hour rule is very, very important. If you start doing this when you're 14 years old, you start working, okay? You start learning about what this is all about what work is all about. That work ethic slowly becomes ingrained in everything that you do. And your legitimacy as, as a student, as somebody, an employee working for somebody, your legitimacy goes up daily the more time you spend getting involved with a job. Period. End of story. Nothing else needs to be said. I don't care who the hell you are. Now, there may be exceptions to the rule. That kid that buries his head in a book and spends all his time studying. Okay, there's work. That's work. I get that. There's work involved with that. But
you're not going to do that at 30 years old.
No, you're not doing that.
You're not going to support your family and achieve the American dream with whatever definition you have by keeping your nose in a book.
No.
It happens in the real world, in the exchange of service for dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how people make them. At some point, you got to put food on the table and you got to put a roof over your head.
We're the most successful.
That's not going to come by keeping your head in a book for 40 hours a week.
We're the most successful country in the world because of that. Okay, this country got built because of that.
Now, whether Gladwell's right with 10,000 hours or not, I'll give you an example.
No, don't get me wrong. He's right.
I think he is.
It's legitimate.
I'll give you an example. Dominic, he produces it. Shout out 100 and what are we on? 110?
Yeah.
He produced our podcast. He's learning Blender, which is like this. I don't even know what this stuff is. It's like 3D animation software. He's learning that for fun on the side. He's probably got 100 hours into this thing. He's got Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing to do this podcast, and 2 camera angles, the mic, and how do you put it all together, integrate graphics. I'm watching him put a clip together with music, integrate it, and splicing different things together. I'm pretty okay technically, and I'm following him clip all this stuff together, and he's moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I'm like, I don't know how many hours he's got on this, but if I want, let's say he was 18 and he's now carrying this through, started at 13, all the way to 18, and he wanted to graduate and go into that. He's got a number of that. You're not going to match that at 18. You got to start putting in some work here. He is, and he started early, and he's got a craft that keeps getting a little bit better, right?
Right.
Now, that's probably a bad example, but he's starting to get his 10,000 hours in 3D animation, video production. He's working in manufacturing. He's starting to compile a little bit. He's got some content creation.
Sure.
So the point is, you've got 8 parents. You've got 8 weeks freshman year. So you got 8 weeks times 4 years, 32 weeks of disposable time, discretionary, where you can choose what to do with it. Mm-hmm. We're saying there is no better choice by a country mile than getting that kid a job and working for the summer.
Yeah.
Money, work ethic, all the lessons that you learn, and there's nothing that is going to be out there that's going to match it. I'll give you one exception. My niece, my goddaughter, Samantha, shout out to Samantha and her parents, my sister and brother-in-law. Mm-hmm. They sent her to I think it was a 2-week nursing prep program. She's a senior now in high school, to kind of see if she really wanted to do it. And it was at one of the schools in Maryland. And she got, it was like 10 days of hands-on. What's it like to be a nurse? And they were working hard, 14 hours a day.
Sure.
She came out of it loving it. So before going into a nursing program in college, she did this as a test grind to see, is that really what she wants to do? And there's a lot of people that said, no, that's not what they want to do. What a great, I can't think of a better use. So with the exception of that, someone that's gung-ho on college for something very technical, I would say that was probably equal to the value she could have gotten working.
It's probably a really good experience.
Yeah, so that I can think of, that's the only exception I can think of, that the time is better spent, because you're going to make a 6-figure, that can be a $250,000 investment in her education, and if it bombs out freshman year, you just blew that money.
Yeah.
So why not just take 10, whatever that costs for 10 days, do that, and she'll come out loving it or hating it. Either way, good outcome. That's the only thing I can think of that's better than working.
Well,
But that's, guess what? That's only a 10-day program. We're talking about 32 weeks here. You've got an opportunity here, and 75% are pissing that away.
well,
And I've never heard, I want to hear the argument against it.
where's the advantage to spending your time in front of a screen? Explain to me.
I guess you could be online education, possibly. There's free courses all over the world.
This is me you're talking to.
Right.
You know,
That's the only one I can think
this is me you're talking to. You know what I'm going to say.
Right.
That's bullshit. They're not taking online. Now, Dominic, on the other hand, has other motivations, because Dominic is learning how to work. The argument could be made that he's learned the basic concepts of a job. You made him get in that car at 5 o'clock in the morning to be here at 6 to film a podcast. And then when we were done, go out back. You made him do that.
You got to.
Okay.
Because the kids aren't going to do it on their own.
If you say, listen, I'd like you to come in, I don't feel like it. Okay. I think that, okay. That's more prevalent in this society now than ever before. If I said, okay, you know, if I said, nah, I don't feel like it, that is, oh my God, my father would, it's a, right through the roof.
Is it fair to say we've coddled the generation, and that's why they're not working?
Coddling is the proper term. Coddling is the and again,
they've got no immunity.
Well, I'm not passing judgment on anybody. Okay, look, it's your life. You do what you want to do, but you're creating that being. You're responsible for what. There's a reason why that kid is allowed to stay with you until you're 18, and you're responsible for him, and his rights are your rights.
Now let me give you some side benefits.
There's a reason for that. If you don't take that seriously, if you don't, now most, don't get me wrong, most, you provide a home, food, roof over the head, they're going to a nice school. You got to do all this, but you got one component left, which is just as important. Get them a job. Get them working. Make them go to work. I can't believe you get so caught up in the day-to-day. I get that, because you're working your ass off too. I was never home. I'd be gone for, look, my wife did the lion's share of the raising of our kids, but my kids worked their summers, okay? And I don't give a shit what the job is.
Doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
You got to show up on time. You got to work the full day. You can't leave early. Okay.
Can't steal.
Can't steal. Can't cheat the employer and sneak a smoke over here and do whatever over there. No, that's learning work. There's a work ethic involved. And by the way, both of them could probably outwork me. So
I'll give you a couple of anecdotal things with Dominic because he's saving his money. He's learning what it's like to see his bank account grow a little bit, right?
Sure.
He went to his buddy's 16th birthday at Great Adventure, and I don't know, 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we get a text, Kim and I, from his lunch, and chicken fingers and French fries. Oh, all right, this is going to be good. And we see the picture come across. All right, now what's next? And we see the little 3 dots. $20 for this, and it's not even that good. He was pissed off all freaking day that he had to spend $20 on the shitty chicken fingers. And by the way, the week before he went to Paver with us, and we stopped at Wawa, and we got breakfast, we got lunch. The whole thing was like $20, and we got 2 meals times 2 people. That's 4 meals for about the same price as that shitty chicken fingers.
Yeah.
And he's telling me this. He goes, Jesus, we just got 4 meals. The shitty thing at Great Adventure was $20. 4 meals, you don't get that because he was pained by the $20.
Yeah.
He knew how long it took him to make that $20.
Yeah.
He knew the value of a dollar, and he's pissed when he didn't see value that he's comparing to freaking Wawa.
Nobody gave him the money. Okay.
The other day,
First of all,
he earned that money.
Nobody gave me my money to go to college. Nobody paid for my college. I paid for my college.
Let me riddle me this.
Which means you can't. Look, whatever I did in college, I did, but it was on my dime.
Right.
What Dominic bought,
He knows the value of that $20.
he bought it because, and he, by the way, he made the decision to buy it. Okay, he was hungry. I like chicken fingers. I like Coke.
And he's pissed.
Of course, he's pissed. He earned the money.
So right there, that's a lesson in he gets the value of a dollar. 2 more little stories. He's invested now in stocks. He's compiling some money. So he said, all right, I said, pick 10 stocks, go research them. You got Microsoft, Google, all the ones that he's got a personal affiliation with.
Sure.
And he's looking at the stock market every week. He's damn, $75 I'm down on my portfolio. He's getting the whole fact. I'm well done. Well, what's the entire market? So he's not getting investments, but he's starting to put the 2 and 2 together. That's his hard-earned money, and he just lost $75.
How old is Dominic?
15.
15 years old.
All right, so now he's got investments. So now he's got skin in the game of owning a piece of Americana with these stocks. He's owning businesses, and he sees it go down. He'll also see it go up.
You're not giving him any money.
Right. He's
Okay.
earning it.
Yeah.
So now, here's my question for you. Let's say he compiles
Oh,
X
wait a
number
minute,
of dollars.
but you got to tell the story. You got to tell the story about. Are you going to buy me the?
Oh yeah.
I love that story.
Some game. I forgot what the game was.
All of a sudden,
Yeah, he goes, "Hey, Dad, I forgot what it was. It was some video game. This game's coming out, and they've been talking about it for a year and a half, and it's $85." I was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do, Dom?" He goes, "Well, I'd like to get it. All right. So why are you telling me this? This is not hard. So if you want to get it, get it. It's your money, Dom. I'd get it if you and Mom were gonna buy it for me. Wait a minute, Dom. So what if we're not gonna buy it, and you got to spend your $85? Probably not." So now the light bulbs go off. This is a more lesson for me. So Dominic, all right, so he doesn't value it enough to use his own money. Mm-hmm. Now let's just say he has $20,000 when he's a senior, right? Mm-hmm. And he's on that path or whatever. Now college comes up, and college is going to be a $250,000 decision, and he's got $20,000. All right, Dom, what do you want to do? You can make that choice. I'll support you, but you're going to have skin in the game, and 92% of that. Here's the rule I have for you, Dom. I'll support it. But you got to have 95% of the skin in the game, and I'll do the rest. You think he's not going to take a hard look at that and say, I've compiled this money, and I got to give it to my old man so I can go to college?
Great example.
And he ain't going to look at that hard? You don't think he's going to have a spreadsheet out that's going to predict, is there an alternative use for that $20,000? Now, I know all the parents are getting triggered right now thinking about, oh my God, you can't possibly say. This kid has learned the value of earning money, investing money, losing money, knows the value of a dollar, and he can go start his own business if he wants to.
What a great example.
Now, the alternative is Dominic goes to math camp for 1 week of summer for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Compare that to what he's going to be, the picture I just painted. Those are 2 different human beings right there.
Oh, yeah.
With a 4-year head start. There's my case. Not to use my son because I'm biased, but there's the case for what work does.
It's a great case.
He don't have that. He's a smart kid. He don't have that. perspective in life without working, without earning money, seeing what the chicken fingers are versus the other 4 things we got at Wawa for 4 meals.
Bingo.
You can't match that.
No.
The personal finance class in high school is not going to get him that knowledge.
No.
There's not enough skin in the game. There's not enough blood, sweat, and tears.
Nope.
He cut his fingers weeding, so he knows what an hour and scraping yourself and putting a podcast together, and the 4 times the computer crashes. That's the experience that you get, and he's going to make that decision. Does he take 19 grand of the 20 grand that he might have and put it into college or not? And do you think he's going to be invested if he's got that 19 grand in? What if me as a semi-rich person could afford to send him to college, and I let him take that 20? He ain't gonna have any skin in the game.
No.
Because I just bought him the video game. That if he had to buy the video game, he ain't buying it. He doesn't value it. Think he'll have a better outcome if he's got his own skin in the game?
What's the difference? Well, first of all, I'm asking a rhetorical question because I know what the difference is, and people should know why are you different than the bulk? That what we're saying is the bulk of parents are not like you. Okay, they're not like me. Why are they different? Where's the wiring that basically gives them the inopportunity?
You know the most depressing thing in the world is seeing a teenager sit on a couch with a screen moping around in the summer, I think.
Right.
Number one, it's dangerous to society because they can get into bad stuff. So if they're on a screen and they're not getting out and vandalizing stuff, probably a better outcome. But it is, as a parent, seeing a kid mope around is like torture. That, for me, it's torture at least. So I'd rather just not see him mope around. And if you in summer, by the way, these kids are, if they're not working, they're going to be lazy. They'll get up at 10. They'll all be texting each other, when can we get together? Next thing you know, they're getting together at 2:30 or 3, if at all.
Right.
Because they're doing God knows what. So they can't get together. So the kid, in the case Dominic, if he's not with his friends, he mopes around. So it's simple. He got it pretty quick. That if I got to sit around and mope around, I might as well go to freaking work and earn some money.
Right.
All the other benefits,
exactly right.
they're just accruing to him because that's what you have when you work. You have not your 9th grade algebra teacher. You got a Mike Bull at 69 with all this experience telling him what it's like to weed and what the things you got to look for. You can't match that level of education. When I take a picture and I see you with Dominic or Ray or some of the other kids that we have, and I'm like, I'm sorry. They're learning in high school. Of course they are. That is the real world, which is what they're going to have for 45 years.
Yeah.
The 4 years in high school is valuable info, but it doesn't prepare you for the 45 years of earning to put food on the table, chasing the American dream. You can give them a slice of that in 4 years of summers, or dick around and go to the Jersey Shore. Jersey Shore being a proxy for not working. That's the case right there. Now, I guess the case against it, the best case against it is, well, you're only a kid once from 14 to 18. Enjoy your life. You're going to be working your whole life. That's the case to not do it.
It's a pretty poor case.
So, yeah, I think it is.
It's a pretty poor case.
This is a competitive world.
Let me tell you something.
There's 100,000.
I have enjoyed. I've been an adult now. If becoming an adult.
And by the way, college is delaying the real world too.
No, there's no question.
Right?
That goes without. You're right. That goes without saying.
That doesn't mean it's not valuable, but there's a aspect of delaying the real. I talk about this all the time. The TikTok Alabama challenge, the sorority rush challenge. They're all doing their dance, wearing. I'm really going to be old school. Wearing practically nothing, doing a dance to some music video as they rush their sorority.
Right.
And I'm paying $50,000 for that as a parent, sending my kid to college so they could do a fucking dance on TikTok. You wouldn't. I could feel the veins coming out of my neck if I caught my daughter or son doing that.
Right.
And you're paying for that as a parent.
Yeah. Yeah, but Mark, that's part of the
experience.
It's part of the socialization process of going to college.
I had a sorority experience. It was wonderful.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And you didn't graduate with $150,000 of debt in a job that you didn't need the college degree to begin with. You're not in your field anyway. So look, the brutal reality of capitalism is that there are going to be 300,000 people that get laid off their job, going to compete, and they're graduating, not using their degree, all that stuff. But all of that is obsolete.